The nominee to be the next Federal Reserve Chairman, Kevin Warsh, calling for regime change and a long overdue reset in how Washington tackles inflation. It's a message that echoes what he's been saying for years to Larry Kudlow, for Pete's sake. The status quo is not working, and Americans are paying the price. He says it is time for some major changes. Watch.
After COVID, when prices went up to the tune of 25 to 35% for virtually all deciles of the American people, that's an indication that the Fed missed its mark. And we are still dealing with the legacy of the policy errors in 2021 and 2022. Once you let inflation take hold in the economy, it's more expensive and harder to bring it down. And so the fatal policy error going back 4 or 5 years is still a legacy that we're dealing with. We need, in my judgment, fundamental policy reforms to fix it.
I listened to every minute, Larry, on the radio of Kevin Warsh's testimony. He was deft and brilliant, and the message is the Federal Reserve has gone too far afield, and it is time to rein it in.
Yes, ma'am. You're spot on. You did a great job. There's a couple things that I really loved. I love the sock puppet. I just love that. Now that you all have explained it to me. But the point is, as he said, Mr. Trump never once asked him to commit to a specific interest rate. The president never once asked me to commit to any particular interest rate decision period, nor would I ever agree to do so if he had, but he never did. You know, this is the thing about Mr. Trump. Now, obviously, president wants lower rates.
Every president wants lower rates.
That's right. And every senator, pretty much, and every House member.
Including Elizabeth Warren. Thank you.
That's exactly right. But, you know, interviewing judges, for example, Mr. Trump has a point of view with regard to, pro-life and pro-choice. He's a pro-lifer. But he would never ask the judge how he or she would vote when he interviewed in the Oval Office. And it's the same thing with interest rates. He wants to know about how smart you are, what your character is, how strong you are, etc. So I thought that was a great thing. And you know what else? There's a bunch of things. Swag. I really like swag, right? Scientific, rough-assed guess, okay? I just think that is so cool, swag. They can't even get the inflation measurements right. That's what Kevin was saying. He said, and they have some creative ones, at the Cleveland Fed and the Dallas Fed, where they chop off the highs and the lows, and they have trimmed mean or the median. And by the way, a lot of those measures are much lower than the overall CPI or PCE. They can't even get that right. And they have to reform the balance sheet. And by the way, what were they doing with DEI? What was the Minneapolis Fed doing, lobbying the Minnesota legislature on whatever it was?
Mr. Minneapolis.
Climate change.
It's all his fault.
I mean,
don't look at me.
Blame Minnesota. It's fine. It's true. It's all true.
It's all true. I mean, what Kevin was saying was, you're right. The Federal Reserve's been out of control for years, and it's time to stop.
I felt like the questioning, I think it was Senator Smith from your phone station.
Again, it's all true.
Where she brought up insurance prices. The price of homeowners insurance is going through the roof because of climate change causing weather events. As if that is the problem of the Federal Reserve. And I thought, well, that's one of the reasons why the balance sheet blew out and they were sopping up money being spent by the Biden administration and the debt, sopping up the debt. Again, it gets back to the fiscal policy is not the Fed's job. It's monetary, and all of these problems are actually not related to inflation or climate change.
Well, he made it very clear that when you run a $10 trillion balance sheet, assets and liabilities, which is now down to slightly less than $7 trillion, which was 600 million 15 years ago. You're engaging in fiscal policy, okay? And you're breaking the 1951 Fed Treasury Accord, because essentially what Ben Bernanke and then Jay Powell continued this, and so did Janet Yellen, they're trying to control interest rates, and that is not their job, okay? Right. And Kevin made a throwaway remark, but he said it many times in our various interviews. And how can you have monetary policy without ever mentioning money? Okay, they don't ever mention money, or the money supply, or the balance sheet, or what Art Laffer refers to in older language, the monetary base. These things are absolutely crucial to any economist who's ever studied any monetary economics whatsoever. That's why he was ripping things through that went over a lot of heads, but was just absolutely brilliant stuff.
I'll just add one thing. What I loved is he said how the balance sheet helps the rich, people with financial assets, but if you use interest rates, that helps everyone.
Yes.
And if we stop worrying about the balance sheet, ring it in, and do interest rates, that can cut through the corners, cut through the cracks, and help everyone. And that is the primary tool. And
yes. And by the way, his defense, Silicon Valley, Stanford University, AI, productivity, lower costs and prices, rates can come down. He didn't back off that. He was challenged by a few people, but he didn't. That will be one of his primary issues as Fed chair. He's going to have trouble the balance sheet would be difficult to work down. He's going to need some deregulation. We could talk about that some other time. It's a restrain the money supply, but allow the economy to flourish. Get the government out of the way.
Amen.
And then we're going to talk about Spirit Airlines. See how I'm just kidding. The Trump administration making new moves to tackle the housing crisis, what they're proposing when we come back.